welcome back to the Toal Tribe channel. If you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. We hope you stick around for the video.
And please subscribe.
Yeah, or like the video, or do both. Whatever you want to do, really. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about our experience with the home study process for our adoption. Basically, where we are in the process is that we have done all of the paperwork, we have been assigned a social worker, and we have had our visit and kind of interview. And we're just waiting for our official green light approval to move on to the next step, which is to create our profile.
Right.
So we started our process back in February. I took the month of February to do research on what kind of adoption we wanted to do. There were a lot of conversations, whether we wanted to do domestic or international,
right,
or how this was all going to work out. And then we had to find an agency once we kind of knew which adoption route we wanted to take. So we decided on a domestic infant adoption. We decided to start out in-state. I think whether we choose to expand that and also send our home study to a national agency will really depend on the timeline, but I think we're really gonna give this smaller agency in the state that we live in a shot. And we'll probably, wait it out for maybe a year before we start looking at, national agencies around the US to consider adopting from other states. Those also incur additional expenses because you have to travel to those states and you have to stay there until you get the paperwork that says you can leave the state and travel with the baby.
Hey guys.
One baby. So when I finally found an agency that I wanted to reach out to and potentially work with, it was around President's Day, which is towards the end of February. I don't remember the exact day, but I remember, sorry if you hear growling, the dogs are playing behind us. I reached out to set up a consultation. I saw that they had certain office hours and we weren't going to be able to meet any of those office hours because I work all day.
Friday, actually.
No, it was a Monday for sure.
Or a Monday.
Yeah, it was definitely a Monday. I have certain office hours and he works in the city and his office hours, mine are a little bit more flexible than his are. So I knew that wasn't going to be a thing. If we did it during the day, we would have to take off. It would be so yeah. He was going to be off on President's Day and I had asked if we could have a consultation on President's Day, and she said, our offices are closed, but I would be more than willing to do a Skype interview with you if that's fine with you. So we were like, that's actually perfect. And for me, that was a really good sign. I don't know how you felt about that. Did you feel
it was a good sign? It means that they were working with us. They wanted to. Yeah.
And they care. This is important to them and they want to give all the information. And it wasn't a short call either, actually. We Skyped with her for a little over an hour. Mm-hmm. And she gave way more information in that little information session than I think that we were expecting to receive. I think we were expecting the bare bones walk through, and she really went into depth. We ended that Skype sesh and we were like, she's awesome. We really liked our interaction with her.
She was cool.
And we loved everything that she had to say about the agency. Basically, one of the things that I know I particularly was really looking for was an agency that really catered to a birth mother's rights, because you hear stories about sometimes adoptions being, not so ethical, and maybe birth mom was manipulated or coerced into giving up her child, or just not really presented with all of the options before she made a decision. You want the birth mom to 100% feel like she's making the right decision. Although it's a hard one, you want her to walk away from it feeling like she did the best thing, not like she just had her child
she was forced
kidnapped.
Into it.
Exactly. And so after speaking to our agency, we really felt like, wow, they're honestly catering more towards birth moms and counseling and everything else than they are to us, and that was really important to us. We ended that call feeling really good about that agency and moving forward with them. So they sent an application, we filled it out, we were approved to start their program, and then they sent us the home study. So this is the end of February, just for timeline's sake.
Yep.
We looked over the paperwork. It was a lot of paperwork, guys. It was 50 something pages, and that doesn't include all of the pages that needed copies made. So as you go through them, you realize that there are certain sections that both partners have to fill out. And they'll only send, you know, one, and they'll tell you on like your instruction sheet that you need to make copies of pages, you know, 20 through 25, and, you know, co-applicant has to fill them out. So by the time you do all of that, packet's probably like 70 pages, and that's not including all of the copies of paperwork that you have to send, like your W-2s, your bank statements, your pay stubs, your proof of insurance, your proof of life insurance, your IDs.
They want to know every single address you've ever lived in.
They do. So we'll get into that. So the first part of the home study process is really trivial things, really. It's just your kind of generic information. It's your name, your social security, your address, all of that fun stuff. Are you a US citizen? Like all of that easy stuff. Takes you 5 seconds to fill out. The next part after that is some information about your family, who your parents are, what your parents do, whether they're married, divorced, who their current spouses are, your siblings, and if you have any like nieces, nephews, or whatever. Also, there's a section for if you have any children in your home, which we do not, so that kind of saved us some time. For children didn't count. So then once you do all of that stuff, you enter a section where it's like you talk about your childhood and your favorite childhood memories, things that you did with your family, how your family handled punishment. Yeah, and you both have to do that section. Then you move into like your relationship, how you met, how long you've been together, what your courtship was like. If there were any other marriages, there's a section for that. Luckily, we don't have that, so we didn't have to fill out that part of the paperwork. Then there are questions about how you plan to parent. Now, luckily, Mike and I have had many conversations like this. We've been trying to conceive for over 3 years now. So these are things that we've talked about many times. So sitting down and doing this packet were not the first times we talked about, you know, how we plan to handle discipline with our child and things like that. Like we both always knew, like, we're not gonna, you know, use physical punishment. We don't want to spank. We don't want to do any hitting. We want to talk. We want to explain. So we knew kind of how we wanted to handle that. And that was a big portion on the actual paperwork. We've got a wild one back here. Ooh, 2 wild ones. The part that you get tripped up on a little bit is when you talk about adoption and how you plan to explain adoption to your child, because, you know, now it's not something we've really had to talk about before. So that took some conversations to figure out. And at first we weren't exactly on the same page. And after talking and even doing research while we did this to see what other families have done, how they've handled it, we kind of narrowed down like an approach that we both felt comfortable with, that we, you know, wanted to use. So we wrote that down. And mind you, you're only given like 2-3 lines to do this. They say you can add an additional piece of paper, but guys, remember, it's like 70 pages. Nobody wants to add additional paperwork. I'm sure they don't even want to read it. All of the things that you write down in the home study paperwork, you get a chance to address in conversation with a social worker when you do the interview. So keep that in mind if you're in the process of filling out a home study. Then there's like a whole portion about your financials. That caused me some anxiety. Even though I already had our budget written down before we started this process, I knew what was coming in, what was going out. It just feels very vulnerable, I think, to submit that to essentially a stranger, to look at and judge whether, you know, you're financially capable and then everything else, whether you're mentally capable of, you know, being a parent.
Yeah. What do you think? Are we good parents?
I personally didn't think that I was going to have any troubles with the home study. I thought that the part that was going to like make me the most anxious were the things that we didn't have control over. So there's a few things that you have to go out and do and have submitted back to your agency. Yeah. You have to get like 4 references. Our agency required 1 to be a like a coworker or like boss kind of thing. 1 needed to be a neighbor or community leader, and then 2 friends. And one of the friends had to know you for at least, I think 5 years it was. Yeah. I was worried that we would hand those out to people and they would agree to do them, but then they would take their time getting them back to us. We also had to go to the doctor and get physicals and have them fill out a set of paperwork. And that paperwork had to be faxed directly to the agency. And then we also had to do fingerprinting.
To make sure we're not criminals.
Basically. And then there's some other things that you fill out, a carry form, which is like whether you've been, whether you're like in the system for child abuse. And then there's some other forms that they send out to like, you know, the police department and things like that, just to make sure that you've never like been arrested or charged with anything like crazy. So you have to fill those all out and send those to the agency, and then they send them to the police department. On one of those forms, you have to include like every address that you've lived at for like the last like 20 years or something like that. It's a little bit overwhelming to get that information, but we sent it in and then we didn't hear anything back, and then they assigned us a social worker, so I assumed that everything came back good.
Yeah, hoping.
That was the part I was thinking was going to give us the most anxiety, and honestly it didn't. Everybody that we reached out to for help,
it's been pretty smooth so far.
Amazing. The doctor in the doctor's office was like, please let me know if you need anything else. She was amazing. The people up front at the desk were like, we'll copy it for you so you don't have to copy it when you get home, and we will fax it right now while you're standing here, and let us know if they need anything. We'll scan it into our system, so if they don't get it, we can send it again tomorrow. They were great. All of our references, wrote our letters super quick, spent a lot of time thinking about it.
In front of me.
Yeah. We had, you know, one of our references was just like, yeah, I'll do it right now. And I mean, everybody wrote such like heartwarming, like touching things about us. Like, you don't know how people feel about you
until you ask.
Them to write a reference letter for a baby. So again, I thought that was going to trip me up, and it really didn't. It was fabulous. Everybody was wonderful. The part that ended up giving me the most anxiety was going over the financial section. And it wasn't just the financials that like were upsetting me. It was just all of a sudden I was just like, oh my God, are they gonna think that because we have credit card debt, like we're gonna be terrible parents? Like,
welcome
oh my
to
God.
America, everybody has credit card debt.
I'm just, you know, it's very normal, but it just brings on emotions. You know, when people have biological children, nobody asks them a million questions about who they are, how they were raised, how they plan to raise, you know, what kind of money they have in the bank, do they have life insurance? Like, nobody asks them that. And I understand the importance of asking these questions, don't get me wrong. I don't think the process should be made any easier. You want to make sure children are going to people that love them and into good hands. But when you're going through it, it's just a lot. So if you are and you think that you're not going to have any emotions towards it, I didn't either, be prepared. You're going to have some emotions. There may be a breakdown or two.
Or three.
By the time we mailed our home study back to the agency, it was the end of March, basically. It took us about a month to fill everything out to our liking, get all of the references, go to the doctors, do all of that, make the appointments for the fingerprints. Also, in the time that we were working on the paperwork, we attended the two mandatory classes. Actually, one is mandatory, the other one is mandatory only if you're planning on doing a transracial adoption. We are open to it, so we just took both the same day. And one was called Growing Together, and I forget what the other one was called specifically, but again, it was a transracial adoption course. And so you have to do that in order for your home study to be fully approved anyway. So we just got that done early. Once everything was completed and sent in, the agency reviewed it and then assigned us a social worker. The social worker reached out, made an appointment to come and meet with us in our home so that she can do the interviews together, and then we did them separate, and then we did a walkthrough of the house. This part of the process almost gave me hives, okay? I was so nervous.
You had hives, actually, I remember.
Were you nervous?
Yes, I was nervous because you feel like you're being under a microscope. Having all of these questions being asked to you, and you know that these questions are being asked for a specific reason, because you got to pass or not pass. So you want to make sure you're answering the right questions. And
it makes
luckily, we were very comfortable with the lady, and she was comfortable with us, and I think it just went very smoothly.
So I've heard home study interviews can take anywhere from an hour to like 4 hours. Like, I've had people say like my social worker was in my house for 4.5 hours.
Ours took like an hour.
Girl, I was nervous. I mean, Mike had off from work because we did it on Good Friday, and he has that day off. My boss gave me a work from home pass. He was like, go ahead, bring your laptop home, log in, log off, log back in, and I worked through lunch all the week leading up to, so that I could, you know, take as much time and not feel worried about it. It literally took under 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was great. She was like, wow, we're really moving through this and I feel like I'm getting everything that I need. I was like, oh my gosh. Just to go over what she talked to us about while she was here, she basically just went over all of the home study paperwork. Like, she kind of just asked us every question in the home study paperwork and gave us a chance to further explain it. And she might have thrown in one or two things, but honestly, they weren't things that would catch you off guard. Like, she wasn't trying to trick you. When she broke us up for our one-on-one interviews, I was really nervous. I don't know about you. Did you feel nervous once I left you?
The pressure was on.
I left him. I went upstairs and left him, and he went first too.
Yeah.
Ooh, you're brave.
I took it. I took it like a champ.
And it wasn't scary at all, to be honest with you.
She asked me like 3 questions, and that was it.
Yeah, it was. I think that those were the questions about how we felt about each other, and she just wanted us to kind of talk freely about each other.
A good mom, or...
Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, when somebody asks me, "Do you think Mike will be a good dad?" I literally gushed for 45 minutes. I think 45 minutes of the home study interview was just me talking about how great a dad Mike is going to be, because I really think he's going to be the best. Aww. He's the best. So we did that. It wasn't anything to worry about. And then we did the home walkthrough. Now, our home is not very massive.
A typical townhouse. Yeah,
it's a 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse. It's a big enough space for us and like one more. And so, you know, we walked her around. We had this house immaculate. Like, leading up the 2 weeks from scheduling this appointment until when it happened, we have been busy every single night, every single day. Painting, painting, prepping, like filling, you know, little, you know, scratches on the walls, like literally everything. I was like a psychopath. I was like, get a toothbrush, clean the baseboards, the social worker's coming.
Like, she's gonna be looking at
like stuff. She cares. Like, she just wants to make sure the house is like clean and livable and we're not like hoarders.
I think we just wanted to give her a warm feeling when she walked in the house.
Yeah. And
she could picture like a baby.
100%. 100%. And she like was like, oh my god, your decor's so great, I love this, I love this. She was so cool. Yeah. And so we walked her down the downstairs, then we brought her upstairs, we showed her our room, we showed her the nursery, which was really kind of a cool moment. Yeah. Because leading up to this, I've been selling all of the furniture in that room. The room is pretty bare bones right now, other than like an area rug, which I'm still waiting to sell, and some stuff that we've accumulated for the baby. So that was really cool, because she was like, oh my gosh, you've already started your nursery. And I was like, kind of, not really. Like, we finished the closet, and we've just been buying little things here and there that we know we're gonna need. Like a bassinet and, you know, the little, like little rocking chair thing we've basically been. And we actually just purchased a glider, but it's not here yet. So that was cool, and it made her feel like, wow, these people are ready to be parents. Like, from this step, she writes a report. She says that she has 2 weeks to write her report, but she never takes 2 weeks because she said that she would forget everything. Yeah. So she said it's typically done within a week, and then it gets sent back to our agency.
And it takes another like week or two.
Yeah, and the supervisor at the agency will read through her report and decide whether we are fit according to their standards to be placed with a child. So even though we're not in the clear with our home study, because we still have to wait on that official approval, we feel really confident about the way everything has gone up to this point. Right. We still have a little bit of a wait. I'm hoping it's only like 2 to 3 weeks that we have to wait for the full-on approval.
Hopefully. Basically,
what we want you to take away from us talking about our home study process, whether you're considering adoption, you're at the beginning of this process, the middle, or more towards the end of your home study like we are, we want you to know that everything that you're feeling is normal and it's okay, but just don't drive yourself crazy.
Well, I mean, they're gonna drive themselves crazy, let's be real. But just, you know, be yourself. Everything will be fine. It'll all go smoothly. Yeah. We were very nervous. Yeah. We didn't have anybody say, you know, try not to drive yourself crazy.
Well, we did.
We naturally did, just because it's a nervous thing. Yeah. But we did what we had to do and it went smooth.
It's totally natural to like worry about, you know, if your bathrooms are spotless or how clean your kitchen countertops are and wanting to organize every closet. Like, guys, guilty. Like, I organized our linen closet. Like, she was gonna open our linen closet.
I repainted the steps.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, my linen closet has never been neater. I'm glad that we did this because my house is immaculate.
Yeah.
Never been this organized or clean. If you want a clean house, just invite a social worker over.
That's it. It'll motivate you.
But truly, those are not the things that were important to her. Like, yes, she wanted to make sure the house was safe and a good space. She wanted to make sure it was clean, but just like generally clean. She didn't like, you know, pull out a white glove or anything.
Right.
And she just wanted to make sure that we had space for the baby and to grow our family. So don't go crazy about those things. You are going to be anxious about, you know, being vulnerable, about being open, about people looking in your finances and your bank statements and everything else. But truly, the social worker is coming to write a report about who you are and your true intentions and about how badly you want to be parents. And if you just let those real feelings come through and you share them and you just talk about how excited you are, she's going to see that your heart is in the best place ever and that you're ready. So just don't overthink it.
Yeah.
That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions about our homesteading process or our adoption process, you can leave them down below.
And if you have any more video ideas, you can leave comments below as well.
We would love to hear from you. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps out our channel. And if you'd like to join the journey and watch us grow our family through adoption, please subscribe. We would love to have you as part of the Toal tribe.
Yeah.
Until next time, bye.